I never imagined my life would take such a dramatic turn when I applied for that internship at Apex Innovations, the towering giant in the tech world. Fresh out of college with a degree in business administration clutched tightly in my hands like a lifeline, I was desperate for any entry-level position. The interview process seemed straightforward at first. A panel of stern-faced executives grilling me on my skills, my ambitions, and why I thought I deserved a spot in their elite company. I answered with the poise I'd practiced in front of my mirror for hours, my voice steady despite the butterflies raging in my stomach. To my utter shock, I passed with flying colors, but the assignment that followed left me breathless. Personal assistant to the CEO herself, Elena Voss. Whispers in the lobby painted her as the Ice Queen, ruthless, unapproachable, yet undeniably revered. As I waited for my orientation, I couldn't help but steal glances at her photo on the company website. Her sharp features, piercing blue eyes, and cascade of raven hair made my heart skip a beat in a way I hadn't felt before. Stepping into the skyscraper on my first day felt like entering a different realm, where glass walls reflected ambition and power. The elevator ride to the top floor was agonizingly slow, each ding amplifying my nerves. When the doors opened, I was greeted by a sea of polished desks and hurried employees, all avoiding eye contact as if the air itself carried Elena's intimidating presence. My new workspace was adjacent to her office. A sleek corner with a view of the city skyline that made my tiny apartment seem like a distant memory. Elena's assistant trainer, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, briefed me on the basics: schedules, emails, confidential reports. But it was the warnings that stuck. Ms. Voss demands perfection. One slip and you're out. As Carla left, I adjusted my oversized blazer, feeling the familiar constriction of the bandages around my chest. I'd bound them tightly that morning, a habit born from years of hiding my curves to ward off unwanted male attention. Being a lesbian in a world that often misunderstood me meant I'd never pursued romance. Crushes stayed safely in my daydreams, untainted by reality. My first encounter with Elena was nothing short of electrifying. She swept into the office like a storm, her tailored suit hugging her figure with effortless elegance. "You're the new intern," she stated, her voice cool and commanding, not bothering with pleasantries. I nodded, fumbling with my notepad as she rattled off tasks. Organize her calendar, prepare briefing notes for a board meeting. Her proximity was intoxicating. The subtle scent of her perfume, a mix of jasmine and authority, made my cheeks flush. As she turned away, dismissing me with a wave, I caught myself staring at the graceful line of her neck, imagining what it would be like to trace it with my fingers. Shaking off the forbidden thought, I dove into work, my mind wandering back to her beauty throughout the day. By evening, as colleagues filtered out, I stayed late, determined to prove my worth. The isolation didn't bother me much. My life had always been solitary, focused on studies and self-preservation. Yet in the quiet hum of the office, fantasies bloomed, innocent at first, of sharing a coffee, then bolder, of her smile softening just for me. The days blurred into a rhythm of endless emails and urgent calls, each one a test of my endurance. Elena's expectations were sky-high. A misplaced comma in a report earned a frosty rebuke that left me red-faced and apologetic. But amidst the fear there was admiration. Everyone in the company spoke of her in hushed tones of awe, her leadership turning Apex into an empire. I overheard stories in the break room, how she'd single-handedly negotiated a billion-dollar deal, her poise unbreakable. To me she was an enigma, beautiful and distant, like a star I could only gaze at from afar. My naivety shone through in small ways, tripping over my words during our brief interactions, earning a rare arched eyebrow from her. At home, unwinding in my cramped room, I'd replay those moments, my heart aching with unspoken longing. Binding my chest each morning became a ritual of concealment, a shield against a world that didn't understand my desires. Little did I know this job would unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. Filler moments filled my early weeks, like the time I fetched her favorite latte from the upscale cafe downstairs, my hands trembling as I handed it over. "Make it a habit," she said, her eyes lingering on mine a fraction longer than necessary, sending a shiver down my spine. Or the board meeting where I shadowed her, watching her command the room with effortless dominance. Her voice, sharp yet melodic, held everyone captive, including me. I felt like a child in her presence, wide-eyed and innocent, yet to grasp the complexities of corporate life, or love. As overtime became routine, my social life dwindled to nothing. Friends' invitations went unanswered, replaced by late-night spreadsheets. Isolation wrapped around me like a familiar blanket, but in those solitary hours, thoughts of Elena invaded my mind. Her beauty haunted me, those full lips, the way her hair fell like silk. I pushed the fantasies aside, reminding myself she was my boss, untouchable. But deep down, a spark ignited, one that would soon consume us both. One afternoon, during a rare lull, I ventured to the company library for research materials. The shelves towered with volumes on strategy and innovation, a quiet sanctuary amid the chaos. As I pulled a book, I sensed someone behind me, Elena, browsing nearby. "Efficient choice," she commented, her tone neutral but her presence overwhelming. We exchanged brief words on the text, her intellect shining through, making me feel both inspired and inadequate. Back at my desk, the encounter replayed, fueling more daydreams. My cuteness, as friends often teased, clashed with her regal demeanor. I was the naive kid, she the queen. Yet in my heart, I adored her from afar, fearing the day my secrets might surface. The work piled on, demanding more hours, but I embraced it, hoping to earn even a glimmer of her approval. As my internship began, I reflected on my untouched life. No relationships, no explorations, just quiet yearnings. Wrapping my chest daily was my armor, keeping men at bay and my true self hidden. But Elena's allure pierced through, stirring emotions I'd long suppressed. The company buzzed with her legend. Employees feared her wrath but adored her vision. I was no exception, caught in her orbit, oblivious to the gravitational pull drawing us closer. Each task completed brought a sense of accomplishment, tinged with the thrill of her potential praise. Little heartwarming glimpses emerged, like when she nodded approvingly at a well-organized file, her ice melting just a tad. The tone of my days shifted, charged with unspoken tension, immersive in this new world of power and possibility. By the end of my first month, exhaustion set in, but so did determination. The pacing of my life accelerated, from quiet student to corporate whirlwind. Emotional undercurrents swirled. Fear of failure, adoration for Elena, and a budding self-awareness. The storyline of my existence was rewriting itself, with her as the central figure. As I locked up late one night, the city lights twinkling below, I whispered to myself, "This is just the beginning." Unbeknownst to me, it was the start of a forbidden journey, one that would thaw the Ice Queen and awaken the woman in me. The demands of being Elena's personal assistant escalated quickly, turning my days into a whirlwind of deadlines and details. Mornings started at dawn, reviewing her agenda while sipping cheap coffee in my apartment, the bandages around my chest a constant reminder of my hidden self. At the office, I juggled calls from international partners, drafted emails that could make or break deals, and anticipated her needs before she voiced them. "Anticipate, don't react," Carla had advised, but with Elena, it felt like mind-reading. Her beauty distracted me endlessly. A simple glance from her blue eyes sent my pulse racing, forcing me to focus harder. Isolation crept in deeper. Lunch breaks alone at my desk, evenings stretched into nights. Friends texted less, understanding my excuses, but I missed the camaraderie. Yet, in solitude, my mind wandered to her, fantasizing about stolen moments that could never be. One particularly grueling week, a merger loomed, piling on overtime. I arrived home past midnight most days, collapsing onto my bed with thoughts of Elena swirling. Her dominance in meetings was mesmerizing, silencing doubters with a single look, her voice cutting like a blade yet laced with intelligence. Everyone feared her. Whispers of firings echoed in hallways, but they adored her too, crediting her for bonuses and breakthroughs. I was no different, my naivety amplifying the awe. Cute and unassuming, I blended into the background, but she noticed my efforts. "Adequate," she'd say, a word that lit me up like praise. In private, I'd unwrap the bandages, staring at my reflection, wondering why I'd hidden so long. Being lesbian meant navigating desires quietly, relationships a distant dream amid self-doubt. Filler scenes dotted my routine, like the day I organized her travel for a conference. Rifling through her preferences, black coffee, window seats, I felt intimately connected even if one-sided. Or the elevator rides where we'd stand in silence, her perfume enveloping me, charging the air with unspoken energy. Once our hands brushed passing a file. The spark was electric, leaving me blushing furiously. She didn't react, but I replayed it endlessly. Work isolated me further, no time for socials, but it honed my skills. Late nights, alone in the office, I'd think of my untouched life. No kisses, no embraces, just yearnings for someone like her. A heartwarming moment pierced the grind when Elena handed me a rare compliment after a flawless presentation prep. "You've improved," she said, her tone softening, eyes meeting mine warmly. My heart soared, a charged connection flickering. But reality snapped back with more tasks. Frustration at the demands, but thrill in her proximity. Immersive in this corporate maze, I felt alive, yet achingly alone. Tensions built during a team dinner I coordinated, where Elena shone as the center. I watched from the sidelines, her laughter rare but beautiful. Jealousy stirred as colleagues vied for her attention, but she dismissed them coolly. Back at work, our dynamic remained boss-subordinate, but my fantasies grew bolder. Imagining her touch, her dominance. The bandages chafed, symbolizing my repression, but I endured for the job, and her. One evening, as rain pelted the windows, I stayed late finalizing reports. Elena emerged from her office, coat in hand. "Join me for a walkthrough," she commanded, and we toured the empty floors, her insights flowing. It was almost intimate, her voice low, charged with passion for the company. I nodded, hanging on every word, my innocence shining through questions. Heartwarming in its mentorship, it fueled my adoration. As weeks passed, the isolation weighed heavier, but so did the emotional pull. The longing, fantasies of Elena dominating my thoughts. I realized this job was reshaping me, thawing my reservations, setting the stage for upheaval. The tone charged with anticipation, heart ready for what lay ahead. Overtime became my norm, the office a second home where fluorescent lights buzzed like persistent reminders of my dedication. Elena's tasks grew more intricate, analyzing competitor data, coordinating confidential calls, each one isolating me further from the world outside. Colleagues pitied my long hours, but I waved them off, secretly relishing the proximity to her. Her beauty was a constant distraction. During briefings, I'd steal glances at her poised figure, heart fluttering. Fantasies intruded in quiet moments, her hand on mine, a whisper of approval turning intimate. My naivety kept them innocent, but the spice lingered, a warmth in my core I'd never explored. Binding my chest daily reinforced my solitude. No relationships, no risks, just quiet lesbian longings buried deep. A filler day unfolded with a site visit to a partner firm, Elena driving us in her sleek car. The ride was tense, her focus on the road, but conversation flowed on strategy. Her laughter at my awkward joke was heartwarming, a crack in the ice. Back at the office, work resumed, pacing the isolation. Emotional charges built during a crisis. A leaked document requiring all-night damage control. Alone with files, thoughts wandered to my untouched life, yearning for connection. Elena's dominance in handling it inspired awe, everyone fearing yet adoring her resolve. One afternoon in the break room, I overheard gossip about her personal life, single, unapproachable. It fueled my daydreams, immersive in possibility. But reality intruded with more demands, leaving me exhausted yet thrilled. Almost caught in reverie once, staring at her photo on my screen when she entered unexpectedly. "Focus," she snapped, but her eyes held curiosity. Blushing, I complied, the moment charged. The day had dragged on endlessly, a cascade of meetings and revisions that left my fingers aching from typing and my mind swirling with data points and deadlines. It was one of those high-stakes projects, a confidential acquisition report that Elena had deemed critical for the upcoming board presentation. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, casting long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the executive suite, the office began to empty. Colleagues trickled out, murmuring goodbyes and casting sympathetic glances my way, knowing all too well the demands of being Elena's personal assistant. I stayed behind, buried in spreadsheets and notes, the hum of the air conditioning the only company besides the occasional click of Elena's heels from her adjoining office. Her presence loomed like a magnetic force. Even from afar, her breathtaking beauty invaded my thoughts. The sharp curve of her jaw, the way her dark hair framed those piercing blue eyes. I shook my head, focusing on the screen, but my naivety betrayed me with fleeting fantasies of her turning that intense gaze on me with something softer than command. Everyone feared her, yet adored her for the empire she'd built, and I was caught in that web, my isolated life feeling even more confined yet thrilling in her shadow. The bandages around my chest pulled tight, a reminder of my hidden self, untouched and yearning in ways I'd never voiced. As the clock ticked past 8, Elena emerged from her office, her tailored blazer slung over one arm, revealing the elegant silk blouse beneath. "This report needs to be flawless by morning," she stated, her voice cool and unwavering, slicing through the quiet like a blade. I nodded, my heart skipping as she approached my desk, leaning over to scan the document on my screen. Her perfume wafted over me, jasmine laced with something deeper, more intoxicating, and I fought the flush creeping up my neck. "We'll finish it here," she added, pulling up a chair beside me, her proximity sending electric currents through the air. We worked in tandem, her fingers flying across her laptop while I cross-referenced figures, our interactions strictly professional yet charged with an undercurrent I couldn't ignore. Fatigue nipped at my edges, but her energy was contagious. She pointed out errors with precision, her explanations laced with the intellect that made her the ice queen everyone whispered about. In those moments, I felt like a wide-eyed kid, naive to the corporate world's ruthlessness, but eager to absorb every lesson from her. Filler scenes from earlier in the day replayed in my mind, like when I'd fetched a stack of documents from the printer, our hands brushing accidentally, the brief contact sparking a warmth that lingered hours later. Now, alone in the dim office, that memory amplified the tension, my fantasies lurking just beneath the surface, spicy whispers of what her touch might truly feel like. Hours blurred as we delved deeper into the revisions, the city lights twinkling like distant stars outside. My eyes burned from the screen glare and I stifled a yawn, not wanting to show weakness. Elena noticed, her blue eyes flicking to mine with a rare hint of concern. "You're holding up well," she commented almost softly, a heartwarming crack in her icy facade that made my chest tighten, not from the bandages but from emotion. It was a small gesture, but in my isolated world where relationships had always been a distant dream due to my secret orientation, it felt monumental. We pushed on, the work demanding every ounce of focus, but the solitude of the empty office wrapped around us like a cocoon, intensifying the emotional charge. I thought of my life before this job, quiet evenings alone, binding my curves to avoid the wrong kind of attention, never daring to pursue the women who stirred my heart. Elena was the epitome of that forbidden allure, beautiful and dominant, and being this close to her stirred a spicy longing I'd long suppressed. Suddenly she leaned back, rubbing her temples. "This environment isn't helping. Let's relocate to my penthouse. Better setup, no distractions." Her tone was neutral, professional, but my pulse raced at the invitation, nerves fluttering like butterflies in my stomach. The drive to her place was a silent affair, the city's neon blur reflecting off the rain-slicked streets as her luxury sedan glided through traffic. I sat rigidly in the passenger seat, stealing glances at her profile illuminated by passing lights, regal, unapproachable, yet so achingly beautiful. Questions swirled in my mind. Why me? Was this just work or something more? My naivety painted it as innocent, but the charged atmosphere in the car suggested otherwise. We arrived at her building, a sleek tower piercing the night sky, and the doorman nodded respectfully as we entered the private elevator. It ascended smoothly to the top floor, my heart climbing with it. Stepping into her penthouse was like entering a dream. Marble floors gleamed under soft lighting, expansive windows offering panoramic views of the glittering metropolis below. The air carried a faint scent of lavender and tasteful art adorned the walls, speaking of her refined world far beyond my modest means. "We'll work in the study," she directed, leading me to a spacious room with leather-bound books and a massive desk. We settled in, laptops open, the professional dynamic resuming seamlessly, but the intimacy of her personal space ignited subtle sparks. Isolation from the office world felt complete here, yet oddly comforting, as if this was a glimpse into a side of her few ever saw. We dove back into the report, the penthouse's quiet luxury a stark contrast to the sterile office. Elena moved with effortless grace, occasionally standing to pace while dictating notes, her figure silhouetted against the cityscape. I typed furiously, hanging on her every word, my admiration deepening with each insightful comment. A heartwarming moment unfolded when I suggested a minor tweak to the financial projections, And she paused, a brief smile curving her lips. "Good catch," she said, her voice warming just enough to send a thrill through me. It was rare praise, charging the air with positive energy amid the demanding work. But as the night wore on, fatigue truly set in. My protests about needing a break went unheeded until she finished her section. "I'm taking a bath to refresh," she announced casually, rising with poise. "Feel free to use it after. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen." I nodded, focusing on my remaining tasks, the idea of bathing in her opulent home both daunting and enticing. The isolation of the moment wrapped around me, forgotten in this intimate space, my thoughts drifting to the expensive products I'd soon encounter, far beyond my intern salary. Little did I know this simple suggestion would unravel everything. As I worked alone in the study, nibbling on gourmet snacks from her fridge, marveling at the high-end appliances that hummed softly, the penthouse felt like a sanctuary, worlds away from my cramped apartment, and for a fleeting second, I imagined a life where such luxury was mine, shared with someone like her. Emotional tones charged the atmosphere. Fear of messing up the report mingled with the spicy undercurrent of being in her domain, my fantasies now vividly close. Pacing myself through the final edits, I felt the storyline of the evening building toward some revelation, my innocence on the brink of transformation. Almost caught in a vulnerable moment earlier when a colleague had called the office line just as we were packing up. Elena's cool dismissal of the interruption had saved us from explaining our late-night collaboration. But now in privacy, tension simmered unchecked. The sound of water running from the distant bathroom pulled me from my reverie, a reminder of the bath awaiting. I completed my tasks, saving the file with a sigh of relief, the weight of the day lifting slightly. Elena's invitation lingered in my mind, a professional courtesy laced with something indefinable. My heart pounded at the thought of unwrapping the bandages in such a lavish setting, exposing the curves I'd hidden for so long to avoid unwanted gazes. Being here in her world stirred a mix of awe and longing. My untouched life, devoid of relationships because of my lesbian desires, felt poignantly exposed. The emotional immersion deepened as I wandered the penthouse briefly, touching the soft fabrics of throw pillows, imagining her unwinding here after conquering the corporate battlefield. Everyone adored her for that strength, feared her for the ice, but I saw glimmers of warmth, heartwarming in their rarity. By the time I heard her emerge, refreshed and composed, the stage was set for what came next. The pacing of the night had led us here, from office grind to this intimate threshold, my naivety clashing with the charged possibilities. Innocence teetered on the brink, the transformative spark ready to ignite in the steam of that luxurious bath. The sound of the bathroom door opening pulled me from my focused haze in the study, where I'd just dotted the final I's on the report. Elena stepped out, her raven hair damp and tousled, a silk robe draped loosely over her frame, exuding an effortless allure that made my breath hitch. She looked refreshed, the lines of fatigue from our long night softened, her blue eyes sparkling with renewed vigor. "That bath did wonders," she said casually, patting across the plush carpet toward me. I nodded, trying to keep my gaze averted from the way the robe clung subtly to her curves, my naivety amplifying the spicy tension in the air. "You should take one too. Clear your head before we wrap up." Her tone was insistent, almost commanding, leaving no room for protest. I hesitated, the idea of using her personal bathroom feeling intimately invasive, but exhaustion and curiosity won out. As she settled onto the couch with a glass of wine, gesturing for me to go ahead, I gathered my things, my heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and unspoken longing. This penthouse, her domain, already felt like a forbidden threshold crossed. Now stepping into her private sanctuary stirred emotions I'd long buried. My isolated life, untouched by romance, yearning for connection in ways that scared and excited me. Everyone feared her dominance, adored her beauty, and here I was, the cute, innocent intern, teetering on the edge of something profound. The bathroom was a revelation, a lavish oasis that dwarfed anything I'd ever imagined. Marble tiles gleamed under soft ambient lighting, and the expansive bathtub sat like a throne in the center, surrounded by shelves of exotic products, scented oils, creamy lotions, and bath salts that screamed luxury far beyond my modest salary. I locked the door, my fingers trembling as I began to unwrap the bandages that had become my daily armor, concealing my ample chest to ward off unwanted attention from men. As the fabric fell away, I stared at my reflection in the gilded mirror, vulnerability washing over me like the steam beginning to rise from the filling tub. Pouring in a generous amount of jasmine-scented bubbles, Elena's signature fragrance, I realized with a flush. I slipped into the warm water, the heat enveloping me in a cocoon of indulgence. It was a dream I wouldn't have dared to own, the kind of extravagance that made my tiny apartment shower seem laughable. Sinking deeper, I let my mind wander, replaying the evening's charged moments. Her hand brushing mine earlier, the heartwarming praise in the study. Filler thoughts intruded, recalling how I'd once fantasized about such opulence while scrolling through magazines, never thinking I'd experience it. But here in her space, my fantasies shifted to her, spicy whispers of what her touch might feel like, my purity untouched and aching for exploration. The emotional tone deepened, immersion in this world pulling me under, pacing my awakening desires. As the water cooled, I reluctantly drained the tub, drying off with a towel softer than clouds. I glanced at the discarded bandages on the counter, debating whether to rewrap them. It was late. Surely Elena had retired to bed by now, the penthouse quiet save for the distant hum of the city. Deciding against it, my skin needed a break from the constriction. I slipped into a spare robe hanging on the door, the silk cool against my unbound figure. Stepping out tentatively, the hallway lights dimmed. I padded toward the study to retrieve my clothes, assuming solitude. But as I entered the living room, time seemed to freeze. Elena wasn't asleep. She lounged on the couch, a book in hand, her eyes lifting to meet mine. Shock registered on her face, her gaze traveling over my full revealed form, the robe doing little to hide what I'd always concealed. Mortification flooded me, heat rushing to my cheeks as I froze, arms instinctively crossing over my chest. I thought you were sleeping, I stammered, my voice a whisper, naivety shining through in my wide-eyed panic. The air crackled with charged energy, her beauty amplified in the soft glow, everyone else's fear of her paling against my personal turmoil. This was it, the unveiling of my secrets, both physical and emotional, in the most unexpected way. Her shock morphed into something else. A flicker of intrigue, then resolve, as she set the book aside, her posture straightening with that innate dominance. "Come closer," she ordered, her voice low and commanding, sending a shiver down my spine. I hesitated, protests bubbling up. "Ms. Voss, I didn't mean." But her gaze held me captive, pulling me forward step by step. The distance closed, the penthouse's intimacy amplifying every heartbeat, my blushes deepening under her scrutiny. She rose gracefully, her hand extending to tilt my chin up, forcing our eyes to lock. "No need to hide," she murmured, her touch gentle yet firm, exploring the boundaries I'd set for myself. The moment was forbidden, spicy warmth building as she guided me, her dominance unfolding with care, attuned to my purity and inexperience. Protests escaped my lips, soft, half-hearted denials. But secretly I enjoyed it, the thrill of surrender, awakening sensations I'd only dreamed of. Emotional immersion pulled me deeper, the pacing of the night shifting from professional to profoundly personal, heartwarming tenderness threading through the intensity. Almost exposed in that vulnerable instant, the tension spiked when her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A late-night call from the office, perhaps a colleague checking on the report. Elena glanced at it, her finger hovering over the screen, but she silenced it with a decisive swipe, her focus returning to me undivided. "Not now," she whispered, the interruption heightening the risk, making our connection feel even more clandestine. As she led me to her bedroom, the world outside faded, replaced by the charged sanctuary of silk sheets and dim lamps. Her hands were exploratory, dominant yet reverent, drawing out blushes and gasps that betrayed my secret enjoyment. The spicy undercurrent enveloped us, her commands eliciting responses I'd never imagined, my protests melting into acquiescence. It was intoxicating, this unveiling of desires long suppressed, my lesbian yearnings finally touched, purity gently claimed in a way that felt right, destined. The emotional tones surged, a mix of fear and ecstasy, immersive in the awakening. In the aftermath, we lay tangled in the sheets, the charged silence broken only by our synchronized breaths. Her touch lingered, heartwarming in its tenderness, a finger tracing lazy patterns on my skin, her blue eyes softening as they met mine. "You're more than I expected," she admitted quietly, a rare vulnerability cracking her ice queen facade. I blushed, nestling closer, the isolation of my life dissolving in this intimate bubble. Filler reflections flooded my mind, how the bath's luxury had been a prelude to this dream realized, transforming fantasy into reality. The forbidden nature of it all thrilled me. In public we'd remain boss and subordinate, but here in private her dominance was a spice I craved. Emotional depths plunged further, the pacing of our romance igniting from this spark. The night had shifted everything my purity touched, a bond forged in secrecy and passion. Thoughts of the future intruded, how we'd navigate the daylight facade, her enjoying my blushes and protests while I secretly reveled. Heartwarming warmth spread through me as she pulled me closer, whispering assurances that thawed my reservations. By dawn's light filtering through the windows, I knew this was the beginning of our unveiled desires, emotional and charged, forever altering my naive world. The days following that transformative night blurred into a delicate dance of deception and desire, where the office remained our stage for flawless professionalism. I arrived each morning, bandages securely in place, my cute, naive demeanor intact as I handled Elena's schedule with the same diligence I'd shown before. She was the ice queen incarnate, commanding meetings with her sharp wit and unyielding gaze, earning the fear and adoration of everyone around her. Colleagues whispered about her latest triumphs, oblivious to the secret flames we kindled in private. At her penthouse, after hours, the facade crumbled. She'd summon me with a cryptic text, and once the door closed, her dominance ignited. Teasing touches and whispered commands drew out my blushes, my half-hearted protests melting into secret enjoyment as she reveled in my purity's remnants. The encounters were spicy, charged with a warmth that left me yearning for more, my untouched life now blooming under her guidance. Isolation, once a heavy cloak, lightened in our hidden world. Work demands still kept me from friends, but her presence filled the void, turning solitude into anticipation. Emotional undercurrents swirled, guilt at the forbidden nature, thrill in the duality, immersing me in a storyline pacing toward deeper entanglement. Filler moments wove through our routine, like the office lunch where we sat at opposite ends of the conference table during a team briefing. Her glance across the room, brief but piercing, sparked a secret heat that flushed my cheeks, my mind flashing to the previous night's intimacies. I shifted in my seat, focusing on my notes, the spicy memory charging the mundane with electricity. Later, in the break room, I sipped coffee alone, reflecting on how my naivety had evolved. No longer just fantasies but real, heart-pounding connections. The bandages chafed as a reminder of my past concealments, but in her eyes, I felt seen, desired without judgment. Being lesbian had always meant navigating desires quietly, relationships elusive, but now with her, it was a forbidden romance that thawed my reservations. A heartwarming gesture pierced the intensity one chilly afternoon when Elena called me into her office, ostensibly for a file review. As I entered, she handed me a soft cashmere scarf, her fingers lingering on mine. "For cold nights," she said, her voice low, blue eyes softening in a way that melted my heart. It was a simple gift, but in our secret context it spoke volumes. Care woven into dominance, warming me against the isolation of our double life. I wrapped it around my neck later, inhaling her scent faintly clinging to it, emotional tones charging with tenderness amid the spice. The pacing of our days balanced these moments, building tension between public restraint and private release. Isolation persisted in the corporate grind, overtime stretching into evenings where I'd work late, knowing she'd appear with an urgent task that led us to her penthouse. There, her dominance flourished. She'd pin me with a look, enjoying how my protests, "We shouldn't," faded into blushes and yielding pleasure. The forbidden aspect heightened everything, my innocence fading as I secretly craved her control. Immersive in this duality, I felt alive, the emotional charge intensifying with each encounter. An almost caught moment shattered the calm during a hallway conversation about a project deadline. Elena's hand brushed my lower back subtly, a possessive gesture hidden in guidance, but a colleague rounded the corner unexpectedly. We separated instantly, hearts pounding, my blush betraying me as I stammered an excuse. The close call amplified the risk, pacing our romance with adrenaline, the tone charged with fear and excitement. Heartwarming reprieves followed, like a stolen evening where, after a spicy session, we lay talking about dreams. hers of building empires, mine of simple connections. Her vulnerability, rare as it was, warmed me deeply, forging emotional bonds beyond the physical. As our forbidden romance deepened, the public facade we maintained at the office became a thrilling game of restraint, where every glance and word was measured to preserve our secret. I continued as the diligent intern, fetching files and scheduling calls with my usual cute naivety, while Elena ruled as the ice queen, her commands echoing through boardrooms with the dominance that made everyone fear and adore her. But in private, at her penthouse or stolen moments after hours, her control grew bolder. She'd whisper orders that sent spicy shivers through me, enjoying how my blushes betrayed my secret pleasure despite my protests. The encounters were charged, my purity yielding to her touch in ways that left me breathless and craving more. Isolation from the world outside intensified, my life revolving around work and her, but the risks added an emotional edge, fear of discovery mingling with passion, pacing our storyline with heart-pounding tension. Filler days filled the gaps like a weekend overtime session at her penthouse, where we blended actual report reviews with playful interruptions, her hand guiding mine over the keyboard before pulling me into deeper intimacies. The duality immersed me completely, my untouched past fading as I embraced this new reality, emotional tones surging with every hidden flame. One elevator ride turned into a near catastrophe, amplifying the close calls that peppered our days. We stepped in alone after a late meeting, the doors closing with a soft ding, and Elena's hand slipped to my waist, pulling me close in a possessive grip that sparked spicy warmth. Her lips brushed my ear, murmuring something teasing. My protests soft and insincere as I melted against her. But just as the moment heated, the elevator jolted to a stop on an unexpected floor, doors sliding open to reveal a colleague fumbling with their badge. We separated in a flash, my face flushed crimson, heart hammering as I pretended to check my phone. The colleague nodded obliviously, stepping in, but the adrenaline lingered, charging the air with thrilled fear. It was a stark reminder of our vulnerability, pacing the narrative with risks that made our private dominations even more intoxicating. Emotional immersion deepened, the tone heart-pounding as I realized how easily our world could shatter. Heartwarming interludes provided respite amid the tension, like the evening after that scare when we retreated to her penthouse, sharing childhood stories post-intimacy. Curled in her arms, silk sheets tangled around us, I confessed my lonely youth, hiding my curves and desires, never daring relationships as a lesbian. Elena listened, her blue eyes softening, then shared her own vulnerabilities. The pressure of building an empire, the isolation of power. Her dominance gave way to tenderness, a finger tracing my cheek as she whispered, "You're thawing me." It warmed my soul, emotional charges heightening with this shared vulnerability, immersive in the bond we forged beyond the spice. But close calls persisted, testing our resolve in the office's bustling corridors. During a stressful day of merger prep, Elena pulled me into her office for a quick debrief, closing the door just enough for privacy. What started as professional comfort, a hug disguised as encouragement, escalated into a spicy embrace, her hands roaming with bold dominance. My blushes and protests were muffled against her shoulder, secret enjoyment bubbling up, but footsteps approached outside. We broke apart seconds before Carla knocked, entering with updates, her eyes narrowing suspiciously at my flushed state. "Everything all right?" she asked, and Elena's cool dismissal saved us, but my heart raced with the near exposure. The incident paced our romance with escalating risks, the tone thrilled and charged, fear entwining with passion like never before. Filler scenes of normalcy helped ground us, such as a quiet lunch run where I fetched her favorite salad, our fingers brushing during the exchange, a subtle spark in the mundane. Back at my desk, I'd replay it, my naivety evolving into savvy secrecy, the bandages a symbol of what I once hid now contrasted by her accepting gaze. Everyone adored her leadership, feared her wrath, but I knew the woman beneath, making our hidden flames burn brighter. Another almost caught moment unfolded in the parking garage after hours, as we lingered by her car, her dominance emerging in a stolen kiss that left me protesting weakly yet enjoying immensely. Headlights flashed suddenly, a security guard patrolling, and we ducked behind the vehicle, giggling breathlessly like teenagers. The thrill amplified the emotional depth, immersive storyline weaving danger into desire. Heartwarming followed in waves, like when she surprised me with a handwritten note tucked in a file. Thinking of you. It melted the ice, charging the day with tenderness amid the dominance. Our romance evolved beyond the initial spicy dominations, blossoming into a deeper connection that wove heartwarming threads through our forbidden tapestry. In public, I remained the cute, naive assistant, executing tasks with precision while Elena commanded as the untouchable CO, her beauty and authority inspiring fear and adoration company-wide. But privately, our encounters balanced her control with tender explorations. She'd dominate with teasing commands, delighting in my blushes and protests, yet follow with gentle caresses that spoke of growing affection. The spice persisted, my remnants of innocence fueling her enjoyment, but emotional depth grew, confessions of feelings whispered in the afterglow. Isolation eased as we carved out disguised dates. Business meetings that turned into park walks, hands brushing accidentally yet intentionally. The pacing shifted toward climax, immersive in this evolving bond, tone charged with tender passion that made the world fade around us. Filler evenings included cooking together in her penthouse kitchen, laughter echoing as we chopped vegetables, her dominance playful in directing me, leading to spicy interruptions on the counter. One such date unfolded in a secluded park after a fabricated conference call, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot as we strolled, her arm linked with mine under the guise of casual conversation. Heartwarming words flowed, her admitting how my presence brightened her rigid life, me sharing dreams I'd buried in solitude. The moment charged emotionally, deepening our ties beyond the physical, immersive storyline pulling us closer. Spicy nights at the penthouse continued unabated, her commands eliciting responses that left me flushed and secretly thrilled, protests of veil over my enjoyment. Yet these merged with vulnerability, her ice thawing as she held me close afterward, whispering endearments that confessed budding love. An almost caught scare heightened the tension during a hallway exchange at work. Elena leaned in close, murmuring a spicy promise for later, her breath warm on my ear. Footsteps echoed approaching, a janitor rounding the corner, and she pulled back just in time, our blushes hidden behind professional nods. The close call paced the risks, tone tender yet charged with adrenaline, emotional depth growing in the face of danger. Filler warmth came in shared routines like her teaching me to brew her favorite tea, our hands overlapping in the process, leading to heartwarming smiles that melted reservations. Emotional immersion peaked one night as we lay entwined, love confessed in soft whispers, "I can't imagine without you." Her dominance softened, bonds unbreakable, world fading in our sanctuary. The company gala loomed as the pinnacle of our hidden world, a glittering event where Apex Innovations celebrated its triumphs amid crystal chandeliers and flowing champagne. I arrived in a borrowed gown that hugged my unbound figure subtly, my naivety tempered by the months of our forbidden romance, yet still wide-eyed at the opulence. Elena, breathtaking in a sleek black dress that accentuated her regal poise, commanded the room as always, the Ice Queen adored and feared by all. We maintained our professional distance at first, me as the dutiful assistant circulating with trays of documents disguised as event notes, her mingling with executives whose secret crushes on her eyed overheard in whispers. But private promises lingered in stolen glances, charging the air with spicy anticipation. During the dance portion, she pulled me onto the floor under the pretense of a work discussion, her hand firm on my waist in a dominant hold that sparked memories of our intimate nights. Our eyes locked, betraying the depth of our bond, and for a heart-pounding moment, I feared exposure as a colleague nearby arched an eyebrow. The almost caught thrill paced our evening, emotional tones surging with the risk, immersive in the duality we'd mastered. Filler moments dotted the night, like toasting to the company's success, her subtle wink over the rim of her glass warming my heart amid the crowd's oblivious chatter. As the gala progressed, whispers of change rippled through the attendees. Rumors had been brewing, quashed cleverly by Elena's strategic diversions in meetings, but tonight felt different, charged with inevitability. In a quiet corner during a break, she leaned close, her perfume enveloping me like a secret embrace. "It's time," she murmured, her voice low and commanding, yet laced with the tenderness I'd come to crave. My protests bubbled up, soft, blushing denials about the fallout. But secretly I enjoyed the idea, my heart thrilling at the prospect of claiming our love openly. We decided to go public that very night, her dominance guiding the reveal as she took the stage for her speech. With poise that silenced the room, she announced our relationship, her blue eyes finding mine in the crowd, thawing publicly for the first time. The reaction was electric. Most people shipped us together instantly, cheers erupting from colleagues who'd sensed the spark, their adoration for her extending to our union. Heartwarming applause filled the air, immersive in the wave of support that washed over me, pacing the revelation with triumphant emotion. But not all were joyous. Heartbroken murmurs arose from men who'd secretly loved the CO, their fantasies shattered by her choice, faces paling as they realized her affections lay elsewhere. The aftermath unfolded in waves, the gala transforming into a celebration of not just the company but our love. Women approached me with knowing smiles, sharing how they'd always suspected Elena's ice hit a softer side, now evident in the way she looked at me. "She's different with you," one said, her words heartwarming as they affirmed what I'd known privately, her dominance laced with gentleness, protests from me met with her teasing enjoyment. Filler reflections intruded as I navigated the crowd, thinking back on our journey. From that first interview fantasy to the spicy nights where her commands awakened my purity. Isolation faded in this public embrace, my life no longer confined by bandages or unspoken desires. An almost exposed moment earlier when a photographer snapped a candid shot of us too close, was diffused by Elena's quick redirection, but now with everything out, the tension released like a held breath. Emotional charges peaked as she pulled me aside post-speech, her hand possessive on my arm, whispering vows of forever that melted my core. Back at the penthouse after the gala, the spicy finale ignited, her dominance unfolding with love's intensity. She guided me to the bedroom, commands drawing blushes and playful protests, my secret enjoyment evident in every yielding sigh. The night was charged, immersive in passion that celebrated our public thaw, her touch reverent yet bold. Heartwarming tenderness followed as we lay entwined, reflecting on the reactions. The shipping fans who'd flooded socials with support, the heartbroken admirers who'd have to move on. "They see now," she said, her voice soft, "that I'm not always cold, with you I'm alive." Emotional depth immersed us, pacing the resolution with satisfaction, my naivety fully blossomed into devoted partnership. The next days brought a flood of responses at the office, most colleagues shipping us with enthusiastic notes and well wishes, turning the workplace into a supportive haven. Heartbroken men lingered in subdued conversations, their secret loves for Elena exposed and dashed, but many nodded understandingly, recognizing her softness in stolen glimpses of us together. Filler scenes of adjustment filled the week, like shared lunches where her hand brushed mine openly, drawing smiles rather than suspicion. The emotional tone remained charged, love triumphant over fears, immersive in this new chapter. Almost caught in retrospection, we laughed over past close calls, like that elevator scare, now relics of our hidden flames. Her dominance persisted privately, spicy and loving, protests met with her delighted gaze. Heartwarming peaks came in quiet vows, promising eternity amid the thawed ice, my world forever warmed by her. In the end, our eternal thaw reshaped everything, public and private blending in harmonious triumph, emotional and charged.